When history doesn't follow the expected script. When we talk about the Holocaust, we usually imagine occupied Europe, concentration camps, overcrowded trains, and the world's silence in the face of the persecution of Jews. But there is a little-known chapter to this story, a chapter that took place outside of Central Europe, and that challenges many of the ideas we have today about religion, identity, and humanity. During World War II, Nazi influence was not limited to Germany or Poland. It reached North Africa and the Balkans, regions with large Muslim populations and Jewish communities that had coexisted there for centuries. In places like Tunisia, Morocco, Algeria, and Albania, anti-Semitic laws began to be enforced. Jews' lost rights were marked, monitored, and threatened with imprisonment. The logic of the regime was simple: identify, separate, and eliminate. But it was precisely in this scenario that something unexpected happened. Instead of full cooperation, some Arab and Muslim leaders made a dangerous choice: to disobey. They knew the risk. They knew that protecting Jews could mean imprisonment, torture, or death. Yet they chose to act. This is not a story about politics. It's a story about human decisions. During one of the darkest moments in history, Khaled Abdelwahab and the choice to risk everything. One of those names was Khaled Abdelwahab, an Arab Muslim, born in Tunisia during the period when the country was under German occupation. Khaled was not a soldier. He was not a revolutionary. He was an ordinary man, but attentive to what was happening around him. In 1942, he discovered that a Jewish family was about to be arrested by Nazi officers. The charge was clear: disobeying orders, resisting, existing. Khaled understood immediately what that meant. That family wouldn't just be arrested. They would probably disappear. Then he made a decision that would change everything. Using his social standing, he took that family to his own farm, far from the eyes of the German soldiers. There, they remained hidden for months, without records, without official protection, just trusting the word of a man who could be discovered at any moment. Khaled gained nothing from it. No reward, no immediate recognition. What he gained was the constant weight of fear. And yet, he continued. And perhaps most importantly, he wasn't the only one. It was not an isolated act. For years, the history of the Holocaust was told almost exclusively from a European perspective. And this caused other stories, equally true, to be pushed to the margins of memory. While Khaled Abdelwahab was hiding Jewish families in Tunisia, something similar was happening in other parts of the Muslim world. In Morocco, Sultan Mohammed V refused to hand over Moroccan Jews to the Nazi authorities and the Vichy collaborationist regime. When pressed to separate Jews from the rest of the population, his response was simple and direct. There are no Jews in Morocco. There are only Moroccans. In the Balkans, especially in Albania, imams and local leaders hid entire Jewish families in Muslim villages. Many of these Jews received false documents and were treated as family members. These actions did not stem from official orders or organized movements. They came from individual decisions made quietly, away from the cameras and official history. For these men and women, religion was not used as a justification for hatred, but as a foundation for protecting others. In a time when collaboration was safer than resistance, they chose to resist. The silence after the war. When the war ended, the world tried to move on. Judgments were made, borders redrawn, memories selected. But many of these stories never reached a wide audience. Khaled Abdelwahab did not write books about what he did. He did not give interviews. He did not seek recognition. For decades, his name remained virtually unknown outside the families he saved. The same thing happened with many Muslim leaders who protected Jews. Their actions didn't fit into simple narratives. They weren't convenient for a world increasingly divided by rigid identities. The result was oblivion. And when stories of humanity are forgotten, stereotypes take the place of truth. The absence of these narratives has helped to construct a distorted view of the past, where hatred seems inevitable and solidarity impossible. But the whole story was never simple. When humanity survives. Years after the end of the war, some of these stories began slowly to come to light. not through large institutions, but through the voices of those who survived. Jewish families passed their stories on, stories told in silence, from generation to generation. Stories about doors that opened when everything seemed closed. Khaled Abdelwahab, like other Muslims who protected Jews, never considered himself a hero. For him, it was simply what needed to be done. Perhaps that is precisely what makes these acts so powerful. They were not born from a desire for glory, but from a refusal to accept the dehumanization of the other. In a world marked by religious, cultural, and political divisions, these stories remind us of something essential. Hate is not inevitable. It is learned. But empathy can also be. When we revisit the past honestly, we realize that history isn't just made up of monsters and victims. It's also made up of choices, and some of those choices saved lives. Perhaps the greatest legacy of these stories is not just what happened during the war, but what they can still teach us today. Because even in the darkest moments, humanity has found ways to survive.